Again, happy Wednesday. So I did a live yesterday. It was my first live in, and not ever, but at least probably 2 years. And I sort of liked it. It was fun. I can't say that I had a ton of engagement, but that's not why I'm doing this. And so I'm doing it again today, and I have sort of a plan. But the plan is so rough that I want you to see. I don't even have like an official whiteboard. It's on the back of my May calendar that I used a little bit of highlighter here for us. And I'm just gonna talk as I do my workout, just sort of like I did yesterday. What I'm planning on doing today is talking through my warm-up, where I'm gonna do a little bit of physical therapy for my elbow, where I've been experiencing tendonitis for like really, it's like a tennis elbow kind of thing that I've been experiencing from gardening. And then move on to some mobility and some band work and functional training, and then a dead hang before I move on to the main workout. And then as I talk through my whole workout, we're going to talk about longevity. And I really want today to talk about this difference. I know you can't see this because, again, I just like really just like last minute here. But I'm going to talk through looking fit versus feeling fit, because I think that a lot of people right now are targeting looking very fit. And I think that that's wonderful, but I also want for people to think about, are they feeling fit in that body? Because no matter what you wake up looking like every day, if you aren't waking up energized for that day, and that's not just mentally, does your body feel good? Or does it take you 30 minutes to just start moving about and having your joints feel fluid and pain-free? Do you wake up and look at your skin, and does it look dry and ragged, or do you have to put on a ton of moisturizers to sort of fake that looking moisturized look? To start thinking about those things as you are interacting in your days, and that, are you looking fit, or are you actually feeling fit in your day? So I'm going to start, because I'm talking too much without action, and that's why I want to be here. So I'm going to start with this silly thing. This is TheraBand. I think this is originally maybe for foot therapy and all kinds of hand therapy, but I was experiencing some tendonitis in my elbows on both sides from gardening. I just really created my own routine. I never saw a doctor for this tendonitis, and fortunately I've sort of resolved it on my own with a combination of things. I've strengthened the area by doing things like this twisting back and forth with the TheraBand, and I'll do this both overhanded and underhanded. Sometimes I'll even alternate. So right now, underhanded, I'm feeling sort of the area where that strain will kick up. I'm not feeling it, the strain, but I'm just feeling tightness, like it sort of just needs to be worked out a little bit. So I'm going to go through about 20 repetitions, underhanded and overhanded, back and forth. Again, just strengthening and opening up this area, getting blood flow to the tendons, the joints, the muscles before I get to work with my main set. Today in my main set, I'm going to talk about some great things that are good for longevity, which are overhead presses, pull-ups, single arm rows. I'm going to do some bird dogs, but I'm going to do them a little bit differently today and do them on the ball so that I can really demonstrate how you find your imbalances. And I'm going to do some push-ups, side planks, and farmer's carries. So stay on board. I'm going to try to not make this like a 90-minute live. That would be ridiculous, but we're going to go for it. Okay, I'm going to switch this up because I'm feeling pretty loose now. I did the overhanded and underhanded. Now, this is silly, but here we go. So this action, it works. I've seen a lot of other people talk about doing this for different types of tendonitis, and it really does strengthen and open up the forearm. And like I did yesterday with my physical therapy on my right ankle, I do this on both sides. even, and I have tendonitis on both sides. It's pretty much resolved now because, one, I'm responsible. I don't go out and just do 4 hours of gardening without thinking about the consequences. I think about the action that I'm doing, sort of try to limit it, take breaks, open things up a little bit. And then I also have done some research peptides specifically to help with that injury, and it worked miraculously. I did some direct injections with that. Okay, I'm going to move on to my mobility. Today I wanted to show you the Chirp wheel. A lot of you have seen this larger, and Chirp is just the brand. If I move down to the floor, I think you can still see me. But I may lower this just a little bit. Okay. So I like this medium-sized Chirp wheel. Ooh, I'm sort of off camera a little bit, but because I can really open up my thoracic spine here. I bet you're with me now, yeah. So I put this right at the base of my tailbone and then just slowly roll up on it. I've already felt 1 or 2 pops in my lumbar spine, which is just great. I love it. And I'm just gonna slowly, methodically roll up, but I'm not letting go of my core. My ribs are pulled in and down. Okay, there's some other pops. Just, oh yeah, just snap, crackle, pop. And just opening up my spine. I reached a point after, yesterday I mentioned 2017, and that's an important year because it's the last year that I raced Ironman. I've never felt so closed in my body as that year. I was completely numb in my traps and neck from spending so much time in the time trial position on the bike. It took me almost a year to find openness again in my thoracic spine and neck. This is one of the things that I've been doing to find that openness again, because there was a point in time where I just felt like I couldn't even open my body and feel my whole spine open. I just felt this part that was just stuck permanently when I was spending that much time training for Ironman. And that may be very personal to me, but I'm very grateful that I've worked on that through tools like this to open that back up. Take a sip of water, a lot of talking. Next up, I've got a hang on here. So I am going to do a pull-up later on in my workout, and so I'm going to add in a hang. And if you didn't see my gloves yesterday, these are mountain biking gloves, but I like to wear them to protect my manicure and my palms. They have dogs on them, and Pat got them for me. They're pretty cool. So they're like really Spidey looking on this side, dogs on this side. Okay, dead hang. I'm going to disconnect my TRX. I might show something with that later, but maybe not. So here, not only am I just hanging, but I'm thinking about my spinal alignment, my hips. So I don't want them back, I don't want them forward. I want to just try to drop into this central location of my body. But I also don't want my ribs to flare. So I'm just keeping everything pulled down in my core while I'm letting my spine just sort of lengthen, lengthen, lengthen. Once I've gotten, just a little bit of length here, I might add in a tiny bit of a swing, and then sort of the end of my minute, I'll start letting go and do a single arm. And for me, this works because I'm only 5'5", but if you're taller, this isn't much of a challenge, to have to reach for the bar like this, but find your own method. This is all about finding ideas and what works for you. So that's my dead hang. I'm going to move on. I've got some band work. I'm going to keep my gloves on for what I've got next. And I'm going to go with that black band again today. and show you some scapular retractions and some front pulls. So scapular retraction, I'm using this heavier band, so I am just going to take this as a single right now and hold it a little bit more narrow than my shoulder distance, and then at shoulder height, I'm going to pull down and back. You want to pop these babies down and relax, and then retract. Breathe with all these exercises as you're warming up. Not only warming up your muscles, you're warming up your lungs. So let's see if we can get back to talking about longevity and looking fit and feeling healthy. I'm going to direct you down here to these pillars. Yesterday I mentioned how you recover, how you sleep, so that's how you sleep. Nutrition is what you put in your body. Exercise is how you move your body. Stress management, I refer to it, how you control the tornado around you. And then the fifth that we'll add on are supplements. I did mention sleep supplements that I take last night, and we might mention some of those again today. We want to try to start just picking what you can. So, all right, I got to move on with the exercises too. I'm going to wrap this around my squat rack so that I can take this into a loop. Don't do this around something like a doorknob. You'll regret that at some point in time. Find something super stable. I'm gonna stand, where am I gonna go? Let's see, over here. So I'm just gonna stand again, athletic stance, core engaged, not gonna flare my ribs, and just pull towards my chin. All right, when we get ready for this main set, and I want to talk to you about today's workout, especially if you are interested in how you age. So you could be 30 years old right now. That doesn't mean that you're not interested in how you age, right? We want a healthy skeleton. We don't want to, like I know people in their even 40s who have discovered that they have osteopenia, which is the beginning signs of showing that you have bone loss, calcium deficiency. And so we want to work on that while we can, while we're young, so that we don't regret it later. So today's workout is all about that. We're going to start with an overhead press. I'm going to do 2 more sets of these, so I'm actually going to take this off real quick. Overhead press, and then I'm going to go into a pull-up. The overhead press, I want to talk about the benefits of pressing overhead. So anytime that we take a weight and have that, our spine is in good alignment, and we take that weight overhead, whether that is pressing overhead, squatting, and having weight come up and down with us, we are helping to create new bone, and that's what we want. I'm going to take these pull-aparts again. Cyclist. So as cyclists, we need to be very aware of the amount of time that we're spending on that bike, suspended by that saddle. And so that is a non-weight bearing activity. Non-weight bearing activities are not helping us create healthy bone. Running, although running has a whole set of issues to itself, of that 80% of runners get injured every year. But it does create new bone because it's impact. So, you know, double-edged sword with the running. And so I know a lot of cyclists, my husband being one of them, and I want to protect his bone health. And so weight training is something that I encourage him to do consistently so that he's protecting his bones, not only my bones. My mother-in-law had a bone scan done a couple of years ago, and we also have developed a strength training program for her that I hope that she incorporates some when she can at the gym. I know she swims and does a lot of things that are very healthy to keep going. Okay, so that's the last of my band work. I do have one more thing before I go into the main set, and it is not to be left out. I've already done one little foundation training thing today. First thing in the morning when I'm up on my vibration plate, I started doing the founder. This is a traditional founder movement, which is practicing your hinge. I do that on the vibration plate, but I want to do that here right now because it's also just good to really prompt everything to get in good preparedness for your training and for any hinging. So let's do that. We're going to go into a traditional founder. I'm standing to the side so that you can see that this is not a squat, this is a hinge. I'm focusing on how far I can send my tailbone, shine my tailbone back as my fingertips are energizing forward. I'm going to start with a deep inhale, and we're going to exhale and hinge out. And come back up. As I'm hinging, I'm thinking about how much can I keep my lower abdominal wall engaged, because I want to be able to protect my spine all the way out in this hinge. Because if I had to pick something up, I don't want to pick it up with my spine like this. I want to be able to get down and pick it up and hinge if I had to. And we have to play games with ourselves. I don't know what games, if you play games like this, I'd like to know, drop it in the chat. But if I'm close to failure with especially pull-ups for some reason, I tell myself, okay, I'm like gonna save one dog by doing this pull-up. I'll make myself do it by saving one dog. So whatever your thing is, drop it in the chat. I'm gonna do one more round of foundation training, just so I know I'm ready. Let's talk about sleep, because that's the first of our longevity pillars. And I am not mic'd up at all, so hopefully you can hear okay. I don't want to make this too complicated for any of us by doing lives. So hopefully this just works out where you can hear me pretty well. I'm going to readjust the camera. Hello, everybody. Whoever's here. Okay, well that's perfect. All right, overhead press, shoulder press. It's an exercise that's actually quite controversial. I took the gloves off. Because you will hear some people say that it's dangerous for the shoulder to press overhead, and don't pass the plane of your shoulders. It's, and you can injure your rotator cuff and all kinds of stuff. Honestly, it's your body. You know the safe range of your body. Depending on what your goals are and what you're working on, you do what you feels good in your body. Personally, I like to sit on a stable surface when I am doing overhead press work. And I'm going to give you a reason. Some people like to incorporate lots of stuff. They will stand, which is fine, and I don't mind standing. Some people will do this seated on a stability ball. I do not like to incorporate anything around stability with my overhead press other than just the press, because I feel sometimes that I do have some funkiness that goes on in my spine periodically, and I just feel I'm most stable seated on something like this stool. That's what we're going to do. We are doing this today with a 20-pound dumbbell in each hand, which is not near my maximum, but it's responsible for me right now. Does anybody remember lesson 1 from yesterday? Entering and exiting an exercise. So I'm about to enter this exercise. That means that these dumbbells have to find their way over my head safely. I don't want to hit myself in the face. I don't want to drop them on my feet or any of the above. So what I prefer doing, and these aren't that heavy, I know that I can just bicep curl them up, but I like to give each one a little bit of a pop in my knee, and then I control them on the way up so that I come into what I refer to as the goalpost position. Pop, pop, and then I'm there. My core never let go. And I can even see myself like a mirror, because there you are. All right, I'm just gonna press. I'm not so concerned, I'm not trying to bring them together and tap them or anything like that. I'm just raising them overhead and coming down to that goalpost position. If I had lighter weight and maybe I was working more on range of motion, I might drop lower than goalpost. But for me right now in this motion, that what I told you about with the rotator cuff is true. I'm just protecting it. I'm also doing this without breathing. Okay, I'm gonna come down. Okay, and that next set, I'm gonna breathe on the next set. Because y'all, I don't think I took a single breath. There's one more thing I wanna say, because I'm gonna rest and then I'm not gonna talk in the next set. If you have had injury or tenderness in your anterior deltoid, which is this front area, you can bring these out to where you're more at a 45 rather than in the plane of your body. You'll get the same benefit, a little bit more protection. Do not go past. Do not ever go back here. That's danger zone. Danger, danger. What else? Stay controlled through your core. Think of your sternum. Peak state kind of stuff. So our business name, Peak State, is modeled after living in peak state. And there's 2 millimeters difference between being blah and being in peak state. And it's right here in your sternum. It's here or here, here or here, here or here. And so get in peak state for these lifts. Here I go. I'm going to breathe this time. So first I'm just going to bring these to my knees because I did take them all the way to the floor. So I'm already entering the exercise. That was 7. I don't really like ending on an odd number. I'm shooting for 8, but safety first. So 7. All right, I'm gonna hop up. I'm gonna get a sip of water. And let's talk about what's coming up next, because I am gonna work pull-ups in next. And pull-ups have been a funny little journey for me, because I was working on them, like I was just gung-ho pull-ups about 3 years ago, and got to the point where I could do 10 unassisted wide grip pull-ups. And I was really so stoked about that. But then I started experiencing that tendonitis and from the gardening, and I had to back way off on everything, and I lost that strength, and blah, blah, blah. I don't know. 10. I need to find my way back. So I'm just doing little ones now, just focusing on the eccentric motion. Oh, we have a topic now, don't we? We can talk about the eccentric motion of pull-ups. Okay. Oh my God, it's gonna be 7 again. Okay. Alright, the gloves are staying on for pull-ups. Again, I don't want calluses. Oh, I'm going to keep my little stool. So, this little stool is mine. I use it all the time, especially for pull-ups. So, I don't want to exert the energy to jump up there when I'm going to do a pull-up. So I just step on it. Let's talk about the eccentric motion of pull-ups. So, if you are new to pull-ups and your journey is still at 0, meaning you cannot complete a pull-up on your own, you have a few options. You can assist through a machine at the gym, assisted pull-up machine, which you know on the, and I think it's the only, no, it's not the only machine in the gym where this happens, but one of the only machines in the gym where when you add more weight, the machine gets easier. So, that black band that I had, you really would need something thicker if you want to hang it. You see people hang bands and put their feet in them. Another method I really like is to use your safety bars and wrap a very wide band around your safety bars. You have to make sure if you do that, you have to make sure your safety bars are facing the right direction. If your safety bars are switched, when you have a band on them, they'll actually pull out. But that's another way is that you can do a pull-up by standing on a band there. But that's not what we're doing. I just wanted to tell you about those and get them out of the way before we talk about eccentric motion, because that's what we're doing. So you can just focus on getting up to your full height of the pull-up, whether it's with a stool or jumping up, and then control, think about every single thing in your body helping you be in control as you guide your body down to the floor. You're not holding your breath, you're just doing it with control. And if you do that over time, you're going to find that on the way up, you start feeling stronger and that you can start to do a pull-up on your own. Okay. Okay, so that's 2, but then I'm going to add this third one as an eccentric. And you're trying to do that eccentric lowering while maintaining that peak state 2 millimeter lift. You want to make sure you're not caving downward, as that's very common. So you've got to keep your spine in alignment that whole way down. I'm going to rest, and I'm going to add in another set of pull-ups. I've been just sort of mixing my grip because that's another thing that I think some trainers get stuck in favoring a position, whether that's narrow grip or underhanded, which, you know, it's a chin up rather than a pull up. Chin up focuses more on the bicep. Wide grip pull up focuses more on the lats. And I think that some people interchange them freely like they're the same thing. They're not. And when you do that, you are ignoring important muscle groups. And for a while, I actually did that, but that's a different reason. Here I am, I'm ready for another one. I think I'm gonna keep the same position of the stool, but I'm gonna change my grip. I am gonna go, that was a wide grip the first time. I had 2 successful pull-ups and a third one that I just assisted on the way up with an eccentric motion. And so this, I think I might be stronger in this other grip. We'll see. bad. I was hoping to go all the way up on the third one, but I ended up putting my toe down and just giving myself a little push there. I'm gonna go for one more set here before we move on to our next exercise. So I have gotten away from talking about the pillars. I want to talk about sleep quality and some easy things you can do. And I know that everybody's heard control the temperature of your room, and that's very true, but I'm a cold-natured person, and so I like the feeling of a lot of sheets. So Pat and I have been using a water-cooled mattress pad for several years, and it's actually, we need to probably invest in another one because his side of the bed has stopped functioning very well. But I keep my side of the bed, my mattress pad, at 68 degrees. And for me, that's just enough to drop into a deep sleep without ever waking up feeling cold. Pat, this is probably how he destroyed his, by the way. He will sleep at as low as it'll go, which I think is 55 degrees. And but yeah, I think he burned it out. Okay, this is gonna be my last set of pull-ups. And I'm due for so that would be a chin up, an underhand. This squat rack is just a little bit weird how the corners are, and sometimes this grip doesn't feel great on this machine, so let's just see. Okay. I'm starting to feel a little bit tired on that. That was great. Whatever. Moving on to a single arm row, and I want to talk about some variations here. The obvious, let me grab some dumbbells. Oh, these are heavy. And I'm going to connect to my TRX again. Nice bit of trivia that I just like throwing out there every once in a while. TRX has been around for a minute now, but I was the first officially certified TRX instructor in the state of Alabama. Thank you very much. Back in, that would have been 2009, I believe. A couple of variations to do the single arm row. With the TRX, pretty much any TRX anybody has a safety feature. The original ones back in 2009 did not have a safety feature. I'm sure some people got hurt. Also, you can adjust your TRX based on these yellow tabs. They pull up, and then the D-ring, we refer to this as the D-ring. This is how you open it up to bring it back down. Some people do not know. They just think this is it. They just pull it up here, and that's the end of the rope. End of the line. It's not. You can just keep going. And we call this over-shortening the TRX. Where I just pulled the tab. You can also pull this inside loop, and you end up with it. We also, as group fitness instructors, we'd have all kinds of things just so people would listen to us. But we call this a bunny ear because this one actually dropped down, but then it would form these bunny ears. But all we did was we just now over-shortened our TRX handles so that we can do some rowing and some other fun stuff. I'm going to alternate sets so that I can show you use of dumbbells and a TRX. With rowing and over-shortening, I also wanted to show you a method that you can use this ball. And I'm going to move the camera so that you can see. we can see each other a little bit better here. Yeah, this is gonna work. Okay, so if you were at the gym and you over-shortened your TRX underneath one of the, like big racks or something, you could do this with a stability ball. You can also use a plyometrics box, but basically something that's gonna be approximately 2.5 to 3 feet in height, because I'm gonna put my legs on there so that I'm doing this pull, this row, excuse me. So I'm going to get my shoulders in position, chin is down, spine is long, abdominal walls engaged, and row. Oh, that ball just disappeared. Fun and games, huh? That's what that ball's saying, is I want to run away. Okay, that's good. All right, I'm gonna take a little breather there. That is option number 1, where you can have a box or a ball, over shortened TRX for your row. The next set, after I take a breather, I will show you with dumbbells. We also want to talk about the options with what we can do with our hands, because that row can be very narrow or it can be wide. I want you to look at my back and you discover for yourself where you think the differences are with the muscles that are working. So come into position and we're either rowing narrow or we're rowing wide. We're rowing narrow or wide. I hope that you saw there were some different muscles there, besides my butt, which was probably way too much in clear view. I'm gonna go in for my dumbbell rows now. These are 20 pounds. I'm entering the exercise, picking them up responsibly. I'm gonna stand in my hinged position because I did that foundation training to warm up for this exercise. And now I will send this into a row. So yes, very helpful that I did that founder, because I feel so supported doing this right now. Okay. All right, I want to get to our next pillar, which is what you put in your body, nutrition. I have evolved so much through the years on my beliefs, my own practices of nutrition. You have to find what works for you. And that is never been more true than it is today. Because I know people with certain intolerances that are not, they're separate. So intolerances are separate from beliefs. If you don't believe in eating meat because you think that that harms animals, that is a belief. If your body reacts in a rash because you eat something, that is an intolerance or an allergy. Those are very different. And in our world now, we have a lot of intolerances that people did not have previously because of the way that our world is developed, and that we don't have the same nutrients in the soil. We don't come in contact with all of the earthly biomes that we used to. I'm going to get back on here. We're still talking about nutrition, what you put in your body, and my own practices, because I think I can just talk about myself as the best example. I currently do not follow any specific macros, calories, grams of protein. I eat intuitively, and I know that doesn't work for everybody. It works for me right now, I should say. I'm going to do this one wide grip. Okay, I'm going to do something else because I don't want to show you bad form. I think that I should modify my angle a little bit because I was making a little bit of adjustment to my form. And you do that too. If you're in the gym, I don't care if you're in a hurry or if you're with other people or even if somebody's waiting on the machine and you feel that pressure. If you feel that the current geometry of the machine or your current equipment is not conducive to what your goal is, what you're feeling in the moment, just move it. Just move it. It's not worth not making that adjustment. See, I'm making an adjustment for you right now. Okay, wide grip pull up. Great. How that set felt really good. That was sort of like yesterday. If you were here for yesterday's squat, or you can go back to yesterday's video. My very first set of back squat with the Olympic bar. I completed my reps, but immediately said that I wasn't happy with the way it felt. And I ended up elevating my heel and made that adjustment. And so that's the same thing. This second set felt so much better than the first set because I made the adjustment that my body needed. I have one more set here. I'm going to come into that hinged position again, which represents sort of like the founder, and I'm going to do a single arm row. The very first set I did with a narrow grip, similar to the TRX. So this one I'm going to go wide grip, which I already know is a little bit more challenging because the weights are coming out further from your body. Remember, anytime you come out far away from your body, that lever arm is increased, and so it's gonna be harder. So I want to drop these for a little bit lighter weight. Actually, sort of a lot. I went down from a 20 to a 12 because I want to really focus on not wrecking my shoulder. Okay, here we are. So I'm coming out wide and then coming back down towards my knees. I'm never gonna lock them out though. Just keeping everything soft and intentional. My tongue is, when I'm not talking, my tongue is soft inside my mouth, away from the roof of my mouth. A lot of times when you're unintentionally holding tension during an exercise or even otherwise, controlling that tornado around us like we talked about. And one of the ways we hold tension in our face is by pressing the tongue to the roof of the mouth. And so relax that tongue away when you're doing these exercises and breathe fluidly. Okay, I'm ready to move on to my stability ball bird dogs. I don't need my gloves right now, and it's a little bit warm here in Salt Lake. I have the garage door open, and I apologize that there's no dogs today, but I have 5 dogs here today, and we're babysitting Suki for just an afternoon. My daughter's Sheba, and I just don't want to risk having all the dogs running around. Okay, so we all know the bird dog of just like being on the hands and knees and in an all-four position where we're stacked and we pull in and out. And I see some people just go about it and never even think about what the possible intention of that exercise could be. And that's unfortunate, but that's life, you know. But when I think about that exercise, I not only think about how I feel and the intention of it in this position, but then when I introduce the stability ball, it's just a different world. And I don't know what you're going to see. I'm going to keep the camera where it is because this is the side facing you is my left side, and it's the side that just really cannot function doing this. I don't have a clear answer for you other than everything on my left side has always felt much, much different than the right, and more than just a dominant side. My rib pattern, lots of stuff. And it really shows up here. So I'm coming into all fours, still thinking about everything. So I'm not like draped over, even my shoulders are pushed down, my abdominal wall is pulled in. Toes are tucked under, by the way, in dorsiflexion. And then my fingers are out wide. My spine's in alignment. And then we take it down. I'm gonna start with my good side because sometimes it's nice to just have a guide of like, yeah, that's what that's supposed to be like. Let's see what happens on this left side. Oh, not bad. Oh, I've been practicing it. But yeah, when I started doing these on the ball, sometimes I would just completely like fall on the ground. And then one side, so I'm doing this more for proprioception than exercise. You know, it just helps you in other areas of your life. It helps you with lifing. And so once I just like, yeah, I'm doing this. My body's pretty good at this right now. I'm going to, then I like to just add in some things just to take it and see where we are, maybe with a little bit more challenge. And that feels good. So yeah, add these in. I really recommend them. Okay, I'm gonna keep going. Push-ups. I did push-ups yesterday, but it wasn't very many repetitions. It was just with the stability ball. At the end of the workout, I did a few of those push-up planks, pull-ins. And today I'm going to do a traditional pull-up. I want to show you something very old school, the perfect push-up. I sort of like the perfect push-up. I don't know about you. If anybody has an opinion about the perfect push-up, drop it in the comments. But I think that these are very old school. I imagine they probably still make them. The idea is that not only is you're able to have your wrist in what we call a neutral grip, but that you can change this. You can lock them also so that they don't move. Some people enjoy using the perfect push-up if they have problems in the wrist joint. I like it just as a switch up because I did push-ups yesterday, and yesterday I was on my hands, and yeah, I just want to switch them up. I just want to show you the perfect push-up. So I'm going to come into a plank position, and then I'm entering the exercise. This is different because there's really no risk of me getting injured with entering the exercise here, as in we're talking about lesson 1, entering the exercise. But I still want to think about my engagement, my core, my spine, my breathing, all those things. So I'm ready. Okay, that was 10. Feel good about that. I really do. I feel good about that. I secretly said to myself, if I can make it to 10, I hope they don't see me suffer too much. But you know what? I don't think I really suffered that much. I probably could have done 12. So maybe probably shoot for 12 this next time. Okay. Let's talk about exercise now, because nutrition, we're trying to get through some pillars, so we don't have time for a deep dive anywhere here today. Nutrition, I just said that me personally, I eat intuitively because that works for me right now. But I am thinking about it. Because I've been doing it for years. So intuitively and knowing are also somehow the same thing, because if you asked me at the end of the day, Heather, how many calories do you think you ate? How many grams of protein do you think you ate? How many grams of fiber do you think you had today? I could tell you if I reflected on it, but it wasn't something that I intentionally mapped out for the day. But I do know. So there's a difference there. Exercise. Let's talk about exercise. And I actually didn't even realize I was going to tell you this story when I started talking about anything today. But exercise is the most important thing that I personally do. And I recognized that at a very young age. My dad recognized my shift, my mood swings in my early adolescent years. And I was a swimmer, and we probably grew up with a different set of parenting than we do today. But I remember on a cold morning in Alabama, sitting at the kitchen table, and I was very bitter and sour, and probably had bleach blonde, spiky tips, listening to The Cure, getting ready that morning. And my dad picked me up fully clothed from the breakfast table, picked up the French doors, and threw me into the pool, fully clothed, in the cold winter of Alabama. So, I have no threat of me being injured, dying, or anything like that, but that was that parental lesson. He said, you are so sour and bitter right now, and he said, you should exercise every day, because you haven't been exercising recently, you've not been going to swim team practice, and it's showing up everywhere in your life. And now that is something that my husband reminds me of, even on occasion, when I just need a reality check. I'm like, that's what's missing, is that even on vacation, I have to get that in. Here we go. Am I going to do 12? Oh my God, I've been talking too much. Save the dogs. If you weren't here earlier, that's how I tricked myself with those last reps, is that I tell myself I've saved the dogs if I can finish it out. Okay, so I'm really happy with that. That's 2 sets. Y'all have seen push-ups, and honestly I did push-ups yesterday, so we're done with push-ups. I'm going to move on to a side plank, because once you see some things in a side plank, and we have time to talk about the rest of the pillars. Oh, there's my scooter. Hazards of having the scooter in the garage with everything else. Actually, I backed the scooter into the squat rack. Yikes. Okay, side plank. I'm going to start on my right side. And I would say, if you have any history of not being able to perform this without pain, let's start there. But if you do not think you can safely be on your elbow, on your shoulder, on your knee, then start supported. Just start somewhere, with your knee down. But what we want to focus on is the way your body looks in space. And so we want to align the body so that Your side plank doesn't look like this. Your side plank doesn't look like that. Your side plank should represent your body being in as much alignment as you can bring it. We can have our hand slightly down, but I don't like that because it's dropping. It's dropping our peak state. So we want to bring that up. We can support here. I like this some because I can feel whether or not my abdomen is pulled in, my ribs are drawn down rather than opened and flared out. I like creating the space below, just breathing. This is important here. When I was doing group fitness and personal training, I always talk to people about this space between your shoulder and your ear. In Pilates especially, we don't ever want to do this. This is never cool when you're exercising because everything is compressed and you're just asking for problems. So let's stay opened up. Side plank, other side. Stress management. Let's talk about that real quick in our pillars. I have had clients in the past say to me, Heather, you just don't understand. There's no controlling my stress. Well, I'm sorry. There is somewhat. You can control anybody's stress to a degree. You can eliminate some of your stress. You can do that by learning to breathe. If you're the busiest person in the world and all you do is sit in front of a computer all day long, you can still breathe better. You can still learn to breathe through your whole torso rather than just shallow breathing. Shallow breathing right up in your chest cavity. You got a whole other world down here to breathe in, but most of us lose it when we're sitting behind the computer. So breathing is one way that we can control our stress. Obvious things like meditation, time with your family. Family can be your friend family, but I do think connection with community is a very good way to control your stress. I have one more exercise and then we're done. Farmer's carry. I'm going to do this with kettlebell. And let me pick a weight real quick. I'm entering an exercise. I see you over there. This is 90 pounds right now, guys. 90 pounds. And I'm going to bring it right over here. And I'm going to put it down. Okay. And I didn't push that on with my toes either. Push is the wrong word. But farmer's carry. I am going to move us together. I'm going to move you first, and then I'll move me. So you're going to get to see a little bit of my backyard too. This farmer's carry we're going to do down my wood path. And I want to talk about it because, you can see a lot. Farmer's carry is not intended to be light. And that's why I'm going to be carrying 90 pounds, 45 pounds in each hand. This is intended to encourage / force us to have to be as erect in peak state as possible while we're carrying those weights. And it should not be pulling us down to the earth. You want to be engaged in your lats, like you're trying to squeeze. I know all the personal trainers say this, but you're trying to squeeze orange juice in your armpits. This is what we're trying to do with our lats there, so that we're just hooked in when I come back with the 90 pounds. See you in a minute. can hear me over there. So I'm also really thinking about my walking pattern right now because I want to feel that triangle of my foot that I talked about from yesterday's video. I don't want to feel any strange compensations from relearning to walk with that broken ankle. I'm going to turn around. Okay, that felt really good. That was a 45-pound dumbbell in each hand, and it felt really good. I'm gonna do one more set, but I'm gonna say goodbye because I didn't get through all the pillars. I was gonna talk about supplements, but I think we're gonna talk about that a different day. So for now, goodbye. Thank you for joining me either live or if you're watching this on my Instagram as a video recorded. Drop a comment below. Let me know what your personal pillars are. Let me know how you move your body. Let me know how you control your stress. And I've enjoyed this again. And so I'm going to do it again. See you soon.